Hi guys, this is Keith here from the Upper Tier podcast. I'm coming for you for my first ever video today. So basically, what I'm going to be talking about is my top five iconic WWE moments. Now, I know a lot of people probably might not agree with this video, but hopefully as well. But basically, what I'm going to talk about is in my last 30 years of watching the WWE, what I thought was basically the most iconic moments I've seen so far. So number five, I'll start off with is the pipe bomb with CM Punk back in 2011, I think it was. And yeah, it was Jesus watching that. I was so mesmerized by it all because I literally thought, Jesus, is this actually real? Did Vince actually approve of all of this? What CM Punk was saying, do you know? And I was thinking, like, Jesus, like, it was just amazing to listen to, and it was just gobsmacked at the same time because at the time CM Punk was his contract was coming to an end, and a lot of the fans knew that. I knew that as well, but I didn't believe that he was been able to get away with that. Now we didn't know if he was going to stay or not too, so that was the biggest factor in it all as well. So, but yeah, like as well as that, he actually elevated his career significantly because before all that, he was with Straight Edge Society. He was doing he did all right for that group. Now I have to say, but as well, he was at the start, he was with ECW and he wasn't really recognised as much in ECW at the start of his career. And I don't think Vince really gave too much thought about him. And through it all, he did very well, up until the pipe bomb. And once he hit the pipe bomb, for me, that's when he skyrocketed through, and that's when he became a main event star. Like the fans gravitated to him and everything else. Like he was just tremendous throughout that time. And following up, my fourth iconic moment would have been Money in the Bank in 2011 when he faced John Cena. Again, it's tying in with the same thing that's been happening with CM Punk. We were thinking that he was supposed to leave at the time, and he was supposed to leave. And there's rumours circulating that basically he wouldn't sign the contract and all this. And so basically, when he won that and he took the WWE title, and at the time I was thinking, Jesus, like he's actually going to leave the WWE title, like, because I was so gripped and I was so enthralled by the storyline that was going ahead with him, like, and it was just amazing to think what was going to happen, and I was dying to find out what was happening next week on Raw. And you don't really get that often in WWE anymore, where like you're enthralled every each week, like because usually the storylines nowadays are usually build up week by week, and then you get a huge payoff. Where back then it was kind of a bit of a lull period in the WWE through a good couple of years, and yeah, the fans weren't really gravitating to the WWE that much. But look, CM Punk was a saviour at that time, and it was fantastic. Even when he came back the next week on Raw, I think, oh no, it was actually a couple of weeks later, he came back and he had new music, new everything, new merch, and he was just totally fresh with CM Punk, and it was absolutely amazing what happens throughout then. But that was my number four. So my number three was the Hell in a Cell '97. Reason being is because at the time, Hell in a Cell was the first ever Hell in a Cell. As a kid, I was just like mesmerized by the whole thing, and also it was the first time ever seeing Kane when his debuted as well. Now, back then when I was a kid, Kane was absolutely terrifying. To tell anybody that's around my age now that watched wrestling back then, they'll tell you he was terrifying along with Taker. And Taker's my number one ever. So, but yeah, the Hell in a Cell itself, I know a lot of people go with Undertaker and Mankind as the best one of them all. Now, it is one of the best of all time, and no one's ever beaten it since then. But for me, I really loved the Hell in a Cell '97 with Shawn Michaels and Undertaker, two of my favourites of all time. It was basically the first time ever for a Hell in a Cell, but it's also when Shawn was going up halfway through the Hell in a Cell and he fell off onto the commentary table. That was actually a first as well, because back then it was totally different. This is like nearly, geez, I think it's like 30 years ago or something like that, or nearly 30 years ago that this happened. And you didn't really see stuff like that back then compared to now. Like, you see it nearly on a daily basis, mostly, But that's why it's in that category there. And so basically, number two then is Eddie Guerrero. Now, this is when Eddie Guerrero won the title against Brock Lesnar, No Way Out 2004. Now, People that know me know that I am a huge Eddie Guerrero fan. I absolutely love Eddie Guerrero to no end. Now, the thing about it is the reason why he that's in my second position is because he's in my top five. But like Eddie Guerrero to me had everything. He had the charisma. He had the look. He was amazing in the ring. He was very good on the mic. He just had everything. He used to entertain people non-stop all the time in the ring, and I loved him. I loved him in every match. I loved him when he was with the Radicals. I loved him when he was in WCW, and I even loved him, actually when he was given a good chance, even with China and all that, and he actually showed a bit more of himself later on before he passed away in '05. But to me, I was so happy to see him winning the title against Brock Lesnar in No Way Out 2004 because I nearly shed a tear actually watching that because the following week when he was on SmackDown, they gave him a big celebration for it, and you could see that it meant so much to Eddie Guerrero when he was watching that in the ring at the time, and it meant so much to me as a big fan of his that he actually got that chance to win the WWE title before he passed away. So that's what number two for me. Number one is the WrestleMania 28 Hell in a Cell End of an Era. Reason that's number one for me is because those three guys were the pillars of me watching the WWE back in the day when I was a kid. Now I watched WWE back in 1996, so I'm nearly 30 years watching the WWE. And those three guys I've watched from the near enough to the very beginning. But yeah, to me, I watched them week in, week out, and I watched them from over 25 years. And I have to say, I never missed a Raw, I never missed a SmackDown when I was a kid watching them, and even growing up into my teenage years, I never missed anything to do with them. And I loved all the storylines they did. But preferably, the reason why that's number one too is because they had a storyline with each other. Because back in WrestleMania 25, there was a storyline with Shawn and Undertaker, and then Shawn and Undertaker the following year, and then it was Triple H again for the next. It was a 4 year cycle of the storyline, and it was great, absolutely great. And then you knew when you're looking at it on the stage together, the three of them, that was going to be the last ever time they were going to be in the ring together and facing each other as well. And it was a real, like, to me, it felt like my childhood just ended there looking at all that because that's what I grew up with. And so that's the reason why it's number one for me. But if you have any moments that you want me to chat about, feel free to put one in the comment section. Or if I have another couple coming up now in a couple of weeks' time. But if you have any more ideas, or if you want me to say anything to you, any ideas for the next couple of months or whatever it may be, drop a message there in the comment section, and I'd love to hear your feedback. Talk to you soon, guys.